Well, good morning, church. How are we doing? Good. Well, hey, my name is Adam, and I'm so glad to be here today. We're continuing in our series, Unforgettable, and this series is all about hearing stories of ordinary people in our church who have trusted God in difficult seasons and watched Him do something they'll never forget. And speaking of difficult seasons, last month, Chris told the church how he was diagnosed with kidney cancer. And I can definitely say it hasn't been the easiest season. And he'll be having surgery later this month. But he was so excited to have one surgery, he needed to have a second one. And hurt his foot last week playing pickleball. So we just want to invite Chris and the staff and the elders to come forward so we can pray over him leading into these surgeries in this recovery period that he's going to be going through. Or roll up. If you would you stand and extend a hand towards Chris? Lord, we thank you so much for today, Lord. We thank you for this church, and we thank you for the amazing leaders that you have placed here with us, Lord. We want to pray for Chris, God, as he goes through this hard season of cancer and surgeries, Lord. Would you be with him? Would you be with him in the times where he may feel discouraged? Would you be with him when he's feeling good and when he's feeling bad, Lord? I pray for the surgeons and the nurses that are going to be operating on him. Would you work through them? Would you give him the strength and the wisdom, Lord? And we just pray for Chris and his family, Lord, as he's recovering, Lord. Would you take away all the pain? Would you take away all the cancer, Lord? I pray that he would be completely healed in your name, Lord. We pray all these things in your name, and we thank you. Amen. So like I said, we are in our series, Unforgettable, and today I'm going to invite Alex Breen to share part of his story. Alex is a superhero here at LifeBridge. He serves with our students, he serves with our kids, and most importantly, he leads our Celebrate Recovery ministry. And if you're not familiar with Celebrate Recovery, it's a ministry that meets here every Wednesday at 7 p.m., and it's a ministry where you can be freed from your hurts, your hang-ups, and your habits. So if you would, welcome to the stage. You got some fans out there.
I guess so, man. I guess so.
So how you feeling?
Doing pretty good.
Yeah? So for those of you who don't know Alex, I would like for him to introduce himself so you can get to know him a little bit.
All right, so my name's Alex. Born and raised in Northwest Indiana, Michigan City, a small town on the lake, about an hour out of Chicago. Born and raised Catholic, pretty devout Catholic at that point in life. Well, I wouldn't say devout, but going through the motions, having to go to church. Not really knowing, youth. But I went to Catholic school through 8th grade, and then, as life went on, got to a point, it just led me to Savannah. Yeah.
So you're here today. That means you have a story or an obstacle you faced. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that with us?
Yeah, I started when I was younger. I was about 12 years old, like 7th grade. My parents got a divorce. And that really hit hard. I looked at my dad. I was like, Dad is like my Superman, and he's leaving the house, and he felt this abandonment and resentment that really kind of shifted my life. It shaped it in a different way where I started seeing things differently. Was just hurt. Started to rebel. Started just making bad decisions kind of from that point on. Didn't want to talk about it. Was just holding things in. And obviously, as I get through life, you realize that we got to talk about these things. We got to let these things out. And but sure enough, it's been a journey in realizing some of these wounds and stuff that I've experienced and how much that kind of shaped my life and how God has walked with me throughout all these things,
So share a little bit more about the obstacle you face and when you realized that maybe it wasn't something you could handle on your own.
Yeah, as I realized, I started going to counseling and different things. My mom was putting me in, trying to get me to talk. Like I said, I didn't want to talk about anything with anybody, really, I was just kind of like, I got this, And I realized I started letting things go and talking about it, the freedom that I was experiencing, throughout that period of life. When that happened, I had been exposed to pornography probably at the age of 7. Kind of coming from a family of alcoholism on that side, my dad's side of the family. I started to kind of dabble in these things a little more as a coping mechanism, seeking the dopamine, seeking to feel good. But, as life went on, I started to realize how empty I felt from these things that weren't serving me, you know. And yeah.
Yeah. So during that time, you later moved to Savannah in
Mhm.
2022, and you,
Mhm.
you moved here. What was that like? How was that process? Why did you move here?
So as I was going through life, I was at a period of time where I was really disciplined. Like waking up at 4 a.m. between 4 and 6, like my schedule, I was just routine, just on it, and felt really good. Was able to get away from like the pornography. Actually, another thing at that point in life, the alcohol kind of gave that up. It'll be 7 years, July 28th, where I haven't had a drink,
Cool.
and
That's awesome.
God kind of just took that away from me. I would say it was just at a period of life where I was hanging around people that weren't drinking as much. It was kind of a weekend, every other weekend thing. And as you get older, you realize that you can't just wake up and bounce back like you used to. And it's just like, you know what? I'm just gonna give this up for a while, and just like giving it up for the period of time turned into almost 7 years. And God's just kind of removed that from my life, and realizing that as much as I enjoyed it and much as I did it, it just doesn't really serve me. It's not doing nothing for me. It's not helping me become better. It's not helping me become who I really want to be. You know.
So you moved to Savannah, you said, for 3 reasons. Can you share those reasons?
Yeah. Weather. If you guys know anything about Chicago,
So you chose warm, muggy
yeah,
weather?
yeah. So yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. So in a period of life, I was going through some changes. Let me touch on real quick. It's like I lost my job, and I was like, I'm going to Atlanta. I got a cousin there. I got a cousin in Denver, and my brother was in Chicago already, and he's like, hey, why don't you stick a little closer to home? Come here. Let's try to find a job. You can stay with me for 6 months. Let's just make that the goal, and then you get on your feet. Sure enough, so I was like, all right, I'll do that. And so I lived there for about 6 years, and then I was going through this personal growth phase. I was going through these things, just kind of disciplining and just trying to really focus on God and cutting out garbage music, what I'm watching, just certain things, and it was just a really good part of life where I saw God to start working in that from the discipline and action that I was taking. And so I was going to go to flight school. I started looking at what I wanted to do. I was listening to something, and they said, what did you want to do when you were younger? That you should go for that. It was like some kind of encouragement kind of thing, and I'm like, yeah, what do I want to do? And I wanted to fly planes going out of high school. I had an advisor when I went to college that kind of advised me wrong, and I mean, it's not her fault. It's mine. I could have looked into it more, but she's like, oh yeah, aviation is for mechanic side of things. And I'm like, well, I don't want to work on them. I just want to fly them. So I guess I'm not doing that. So I kind of dabbled through college, realizing it's not for me. Um, yeah, school wasn't for me, so just started working and stuff. And again, I was going through this phase of life, and um, wanted to get away from the weather. I'm going to go to flight school. I'm going to go somewhere warm. Might as well at this point in life. I'm kind of a risk taker. I kind of like to step out, kind of like to experience the unknown. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go somewhere. I'm looking at Arizona. I was looking at Texas, and I was looking at Florida. And sure enough, I was looking at Florida, and all the schools are on the East Coast pretty much. And I wanted to be on the golf, but I'm like, you know what, whatever. There's always a sacrifice in something, right? Whether you're going to gain. I'm leaving a big city where there's a lot of thought to do, a lot of things, a lot of food, a lot of options to, But I want to go somewhere where I grew up on the lake, and there's nice parts of the beach, Lake Michigan, So it's like, but I want that beach kind of though. So, but then I got to go somewhere where it's humid as opposed to dry heat, and all these things are like, But again, there's a sacrifice, of letting go of something to gain something. So I saw Savannah, and I'm like, all right, let me start looking into this. And at the time, working at Whole Foods, I'm like, oh, I got the job thing like there. I don't want to have to look for income. If I got the income thing, it'd be cool. I can just find a place to live and pursue flight school. And sure enough, okay, I look and I'm like, okay, there's one Whole Foods. I'm like, okay, all right, God, that's cool.
And it's
They
full of
promote.
Amazon returns.
Yeah, I'm like, man, they promote transferring. They promote transferring and stuff. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. I got that part out of the way. So let me find a job opening here. And then I called the flight school up, Savannah Aviation, and they're like, this guy was talking to me. I'm like, hey, I'm not there yet. And he's like, hey, man, take my personal number. Call me when you get here. And I'm like, wow, okay, God. All right, things are kind of falling into place, We'll see. Let's just keep taking steps forward. And then I moved here in May of 2022. In March, me and my brother drove down here, and for 3 days I was just trying to find an apartment, trying to find something. And I had a pit bull at the time, so I had to turn him into an emotional support animal so I could move here, which worked out because then you don't got to pay the fees and stuff. And it was like, well, he's coming with me, you know what I mean? This is my guy. I'm not, So found a way to do that, and because honestly, some of the past stuff, I was able to kind of use that as a, excuse, not knowing that I'm ready to step into this situation, but being away from family and blah, 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 feeling comfort where I'm at. But anyways, so as I was looking to come down here, trying to find an apartment, and we didn't. We left without one. And I remember that drive, man, just feeling slightly discouraged, and that's a long ride home. But I was in the passenger seat, and I was just like, oh man, just like disappointed. But I had like 3 of them in mind. And I just, like I said, I was just praying to God. I'm like, all right, well, you brought me this far. You brought me down here. You got these doors that are opening up, but it's not the final one. And so I'm like, what? It's in your hands. If it's meant to be, I'll be there. I'm going to make it there. If not, again, just trust you. We'll just keep taking these steps forward. And I got back. So I called these 3 apartment complexes up like a lot. And then finally, at the end of that week, one of them calls me back. And I'm like, was it the best one? No. But it's like my door, the door really opened up for me to come down here. And I knew that was it at that point. So then, again, that was in March and planned to move. The lease opened up in May.
Yeah, so you moved down to Savannah, and you were going to pursue flight school. So how did that go?
Not so good. Yeah, I thought that was the plan. That was kind of the main reason to come in here, obviously. But I wanted change. I wanted something different. Like I said, I kind of step into the unknown. I like to experience the new. But when I came, was going through it, got flight hours, and it got to a point where he was like, hey, you got to take your physical because pretty soon you're going to be flying alone. And so I'm like, okay. So I go to this doctor, and, there's these like, in your past, did you have this or that? Well, growing up, yeah, I wasn't like diagnosed by the doctors doing testing, but yeah, I had ADHD, and you'll probably be able to tell throughout this conversation. But that H was like, it's bold. Like, yeah, I was bouncing off the walls. There's no doubt when I was younger, just hyper, just active, just always moving and stuff. And so I didn't think anything of it. Apparently, it's not a good thing with the FAA. I checked the box. Guess I should have looked into it. Other people told me, oh, you told them? You shouldn't have told them. I'm like, I wish I would have known. I wouldn't have thought anything of it, But then again, I was like, well, just be honest. Just be honest, check the box. So he's like, what's this? And I'm like, yeah, in my past, I don't take medication for it. I don't like the way it makes me feel. I haven't been on medication in probably over 5-7 years or so at the time. And he's like, no, we're going to have to do extra testing. And I'm like, okay, all right. So reach out to this, there's like 3 neuropsychologists that are like FAA affiliated, so to speak, and one of them's in Port Royal, so South Carolina is the closest one. So I had to go to him and find the money to pay for this testing, which was like over $2,000, this initial thing. And it's like, I'm already taking out a loan for this stuff, and let alone, it was the worst 8 hours of my life. I wish that on nobody, of sitting here doing these, clicking this thing, and oh my, it was horrible, reciting all this stuff, and it was a long day. So I left, and I came back, and I'm waiting on those results, and the FAA, they kind of take their time, and finally, they're like, hey, they want more testing, additional testing, and I'm like, so he calls me up, and the doctor's like, hey, it won't be as long, but it's going to cost like $1,400, and I'm like, man, I keep dumping this money into this, and there's no guarantee. So, I was seeking some counseling and stuff, my brother and people that I lean on, and I'm like, I can't keep coughing up this money, not knowing that you guys could still say no, let alone, like I said, got flight school loan. Luckily, I was able to come up with the extra money for the first test. And then, I was like, but at that point, I moved here. I came to Lifebridge, and I didn't need to go anywhere else. And in all honesty, I had 2 churches in mind as I was researching Savannah. I came to Lifebridge, and I knew the greeting, the people, and then seeing Chris on stage, just being open, emotional, and vulnerable, like just being real. I'm like, all right, this is it. So I need to get plugged in. So I knew coming here that I needed to get plugged into a church. And this is honestly the first church I've ever served at or really been plugged into. Um, so at that point, yeah, I'll be disappointed, but I'm kind of at peace with it, you know? And it was kind of like because of the church and where God had me and being involved in the youth and NCR and different things, I'm kind of like, you know, it's all right. You know, I was talking to my brother about that, and he's like, you know, sometimes God uses things to get you to move. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have did it. Because, you know, I realize I'm where I'm supposed to be. Like, even when I go back home to visit my mom, family, and stuff, like, I'm ready to. After a while, you know, I'm ready to come back home too. You know, to my new home, and yeah, it's kind of crazy to see how God works in that. Sometimes these things, He just requires that step of faith, and then even though that might not be what you expected, I mean, He still got His hands on it.
Yeah, so you found a place of community, which is a big deal because most people, when they get turned down from something, there's so many other things that we can turn to, but you
Yeah,
turned kind of more towards the church
yeah.
and got involved and found community. And so, what was the specific moment in your story where you knew, and you kind of touched on it, but like, I can't do this alone? You know, I got to find the community. I found the church.
Yeah.
Let me get plugged in. What was kind of that turning point for you?
Yeah, you know, when I moved down here, didn't know anybody. Right, the closest person I know is my cousin in Cumming, Georgia. Which you know we talk. I probably visited him twice since I've been here the last 4 years. But like we're good, you know. And so I just like that's the closest person I got. So as you're adapting, you know, learning, there's a lot of isolation, a lot of alone time, and some of these old habits started to surface again. You know, the pornography thing really surfaced again, and was just kind of seeking comfort. And a problem of it, I look at now, it's like I didn't stay disciplined in my habits that I had. I was like, oh, you're going to a new place. Like, you know, we don't got to wake up this early and do this stuff. And it was so ingrained in me at the time. But I was like, no, he's got complacent. And it's kind of that thorn in your side that, you know, Paul talks about. And it's like, man, it's like I'm praying for this to go away. But it's like, man, this is a struggle. And then Chris was on stage and brought up CR starting. And I'm like, man, I didn't even know it was like a 12-step program or whatever it may be. And I'm like, you know, I need that. I need that. Hurts, hangups, and habits. Yeah, I got hurts from the past. I got bad hangups right now, bad habits that I need to take and process and start to get in community. Because I realized at that point, I had confessed it to people before, like that, and my other struggles and stuff, the alcohol and different things. But I realized I'm like, man, I need some help. I need some help. I can't do this alone, let alone it gives me another opportunity to step into community.
Yeah. So one of the values here is we value freedom, you know,
Mm-hmm.
freedom from your hurts, your hangups, and your habits. And
Mm-hmm.
you kind of found that through CR. So tell us about a little bit about the early days of CR when you started coming and attending and kind of leads towards more the bigger picture of where you're at now with it.
Yeah, when I first came, very welcoming. Wasn't a lot of people, but it was good to be able to come in there and it's hard, but confess and talk when you get into groups. And when I came, I'll be honest, I fell so back deep into my sin of the pornography and the struggle and the lusting and things and just like having this downtime and being alone that it was like I actually like disappeared for like 3 months. And then I remember, like, it was always on me, but that guilt and that shame, it was just like, oh man, it was just weighing on me. It's like, nah, you got to go. And then I wouldn't go, and then I got to go. And like, literally, it was about 3 months, and I went. And John Orrin, who started it, and Chris were there. I remember when I walked in, and I'm really grateful. John, he's very direct, and he's just like, where you been? And I'm like, I just
Um,
broke down. I broke down in front of both of them, and I'm like, I've been hiding in my sin, my shame, just feeling guilt. And they're like, well, we're glad to see you here. It was very encouraging. It wasn't, I'm glad I need that directness, so I was glad to receive it. I understand that, and it's like, but very welcoming. I realized that as God started, I need this, and being able to come and confess and just talk about the things that I'm going through, and obviously start diving into some of these wounds and things that I've been suppressing, holding down for years, of not really like getting to the root of why am I going to these things instead of going to God, which I end up feeling empty afterwards. But again, um, that experience of coming to that and then starting to get involved and realize, then like it got to a point where John had some medical conditions going on and he could no longer come to this church living in Pooler, and they came to me and was like, I'd already been kind of like I was kind of like stepping into the assisting role of like, I did a teaching here and there, or, coming and helping them set up and stuff. And they both came to me and were like, hey, like, I can't keep coming. I can't keep doing this right now, driving at night, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, would you want to step into doing this? Or maybe we can stop it for a while and then we can start back up at the new year. I mean, at that point, it's like, I knew the value. I knew what it was doing for me, that I'm like, I'm going to step into this role. I think I'm going to fill this gap. God, and I prayed about it, and sure enough, God had put me in this place. And if you look at it, he really set me up to be in this position. He really, to open that door for me to lead CR. And then it's been like that for the last couple of years now.
Yeah, and so you kind of you moved to Savannah and you really didn't know anyone, and you started coming to Life Bridge and you got into a small group in CR, so you found your community. How has that impacted your life as you navigated those things and even now?
Oh, man. I can't explain what this community's done for me. I mean, my jobs come from this. Family, like, man, wow, this didn't happen the first service. When I think about Life Bridge, man, I've learned throughout the years, and even here and in other areas of life, like church is family. Like, even though you're away from your family, and sometimes that's hard to separate from that thing, but when you trust God and step out in that, and then you realize, like, man, like, this church has been major for me. It's been huge. I knew moving here, my brother was like, I was never involved in this is the first church I've ever been involved in, and now I'm in just leading small group, youth, CR. Got a good group of guys around me here and stuff, and it's like I was never involved in the church, as I said. Coming here, my brother set me up, realizing, he's like, hey, start coming to my church, because this is post-COVID time, so I was literally just watching online, maybe going to some churches, but it was just not, like, they're bigger, and it was just like there was no connection. I just wasn't feeling it. And but I knew, he's like, come to my church. And at that point, I was driving like 45 minutes to go to church with him, and I realized this sense of community was like a startup church, and there was like probably like 20, 25 people at the time, but the welcoming that I felt in the community aspect of it, I'm like, oh man, this is what it's about, And then, so coming here, I knew right off bat I had to get plugged in. So I came to church the first day, and I started talking to guest services and stuff, and I'm like, hey, I want to get plugged in. And sure enough, throughout things, Chris opened up the door for me, to do youth, then the CR thing, and men's group. Again, a leader, one of the leaders there had to step down, and then I saw another opportunity. It's like, I need this, man. I need the other men around my life. I need to be surrounded with community and stuff. So again, these doors just start opening up, and realizing just the importance. But then again, like, to revert back, man, this is where it's at. I mean, for me, and obviously God's, you never know where God's going to take you in life. I mean, I still don't know, but right now I know I'm home. I know where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, Chris says it all the time. You never know what hangs in the balance of your obedience, and
Mm-hmm.
you being obedient to saying yes to those things and moving down there, it's definitely really moved. And so, when, everything you've gone through a lot of obstacles. What do those things teach you about God?
It's he's always there. He's always there even when you don't feel it. And I think that's a big thing about the obedience, and understanding and trusting him, and going to him, even though that's the thing. It's like I'm speaking for myself, right? I statements, not we statements. That's what we say in CR. It's like, I would easily go attached to other things or seek other things when I felt like God wasn't there. But the thing is, it's to come to him, and come to him, and continue to come to him. Because if you think about it, as a parent, as a leader, you want to seek that person out, right? You want to be you want to go to them. It's not up to the mentor to be seeking the mentee, right? It's the other way around. Even though there's a balance in that relationship, and you look at it with God, it's like he's always there in the midst of it. I can see him throughout all these areas of my life, even when I'm here, even though still feeling home, not wanting to go back or anything, but still feeling empty, feeling like I don't know if this is it. Especially feeling shame, unworthiness, and stuff. And that's not God talking, You got to tell that voice to pipe down. It's like, because it's not true. It's not who he says we are or who he says you are. And it's like, it's hard, but it's a daily reminder, I realize, of getting into his word and seeking him. And what's he say about me? What is he telling me? And, he wants surrender. He wants, me to let go of these things that I'm attached to and holding on to, and to come to him. And that's not necessarily, life is peaks and valleys, it's ups and downs. You can't, I realize you can't it's not always going to be a great view, but then again, he's in the midst of everything with you. He's with you in every moment. And I don't want to repeat myself, but it's hard, but it's like trusting him in those times and realizing that he's working it out for your favor, and what you're going through is more or less to glorify him.
That's awesome. So we've touched on Celebrate Recovery a lot. Let's tell everyone, who is Celebrate Recovery for? Because you might hear that and be like, I don't know if that's for me.
Yeah.
But it really is for everyone. So elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, it's as he said, it's for everyone. Hurts, hang-ups, and habits. Yeah, is it a 12-step program? Yeah, but I think if we're honest with ourselves, like, we all got hurts, hang-ups, and habits. And that's the thing. It's not about substance, so to speak, or whatever your alcohol, drugs, whatever it may be. I mean, you could be going through a divorce. You could have been physically abused. You could have been, right now struggling with anger, and you just and realizing that you're catching yourself. But a lot of these things, you realize they stem from a root of something else. It took time for me to realize that and dig into my past and realize where these wounds, where life shifted and stuff. But it's for everybody. And you don't have to feel like, oh, that's not for me. It probably is, if you're saying that in a way, because we all got things going on, or like I said, a past that we've buried or don't want to acknowledge, but you can't heal what you never reveal. And you got a safe place where you can come and be honest and be vulnerable and talk to people and share and realize, I heard this years ago, it's like we all hide behind the fig leaf, right? And it's like back in that Genesis, you're hiding behind this thing, but in a 2-block radius, someone's probably going through something similar to you. And you stepping out, you being vulnerable, is only helping other people around you, because again, it's not about me, right? It's about him. And it's about reaching other people and drawing them closer to Jesus, and realizing that you can be washed clean, and we can let go of these things and not carry these burdens, these things that we've been holding on to for years maybe, or they're maybe relevant right now, whatever it may be. But it's for everybody. I got this picture I post usually on the screen. It's his heart, and it's just got everything in there. Gambling, whatever it may be. I'm just throwing random things out just so, it's like, maybe you struggle with this stuff. Maybe you were part of a program before, and maybe you need to get plugged in. Some of this stuff just doesn't go away, right? It doesn't just always just leave. Yeah, you maybe have sobriety or years of conquering this thing, but then again, we can't get too firm in that under thinking it's just not there, and that's when pride kicks in and we end up falling. Me, exactly, getting comfortable.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about the services on Wednesday nights. What does it look like for someone who's like, I don't know, it sounds like I need to come, but I'm nervous to take that step of actually walking through the door. Can you tell them what they'll expect?
Yeah, it's what's welcoming. We're all coming here, we're all broken. Let's be broken together. And it's like coming into group. You come in, and you're gonna probably see someone greeting you at the door. Coming in, we'll be getting set up and things. We'll all be co-ed in the beginning as we go through it. Every other week we swap from a testimony to a lesson, and then after that I may talk for a little bit, share what my thoughts or my notes, just to have a little of that, pray us out, and then we'll go into groups. Guys go with guys, women stay with women, for reasons obvious. And it's just like also for the vulnerability side of things, of being able to actually share, because it's not comfortable necessarily for a woman to share with a guy and for a guy to share with a girl or whatever it may be. So when it comes to groups, we break off, and it's a time of sharing. You're not obligated to share. We encourage it. Either way, we're just glad you're there. And if it takes you 2-3 times or whatever it may take you before you feel like you want to share, that's fine. There's no pressure, And it's a safe place. Everything that's in the rules, what's said here stays here. Anonymity and confidentiality. Like what's said in the group stays in the group. And it's an integrity thing, right? And character thing. So when we leave here, we don't talk about it with our spouses or our friends and family, whatever it may be. Like, that's gossip, right? And we already know, like that's talked about in the Bible, gossip's not good. So we just keep it here. And then there's that trust value there, where we can come here and we can expose the nitty gritty, the dirty stuff, or whatever it is that we're going through and battling, and knowing that we're in a safe place. Someone here probably can connect and relate with me, and we can walk away feeling a little lighter, right? As we continue down this journey of taking steps of coming out of denial, whatever it may be. And I mean, that's the first step, right? And then working our way through this stuff, making amends, whatever it may be, going back, forgiveness, asking for forgiveness, or giving forgiveness. It works both ways. But yeah, it's a safe place. It's great. And then after groups, we hang out in the lobby for a little while if you want, or you got to go home. Usually we're here. We try to, depending on people and certain things, try to wrap it up around 8:15, 8:30 at the latest. Really try to wrap it up. But yeah, it's about an hour and a half, and yeah, it's a great safe place and stuff where you can come again and share about what you're going through.
It's a great place to find community.
Amen.
That's ultimately what's going to change your life.
Amen.
You, earlier in the first service, you mentioned something about building an army. Can you touch back on that?
Yeah. I remember this is early CR days, and I was just struggling again. And even though I'm going through this program and stuff, like, it's still the day-to-day battle, right? One day at a time. And I was talking to Chris. I was feeling this guilt and shame and stuff, and he's like, hey, and this really hit me, and it really was like a shift in our relationship and stuff. We're also meeting with him afterwards, but like when he said this to me, it just really hit that you're not going to do anything that's going to make Jesus love you less. And he's like, let go of that stuff. Build an army around you. You can have an accountability partner, or maybe at that point you got a sponsor, right? And there's a difference there, but having accountability partners, multiple, because the thing is like, I can call one friend and he may be going through something, or he's got something going on, so I got someone else that I can call, right? I need to have other men, other people around me, other women around you that you can call and reach on, that understand, and they can help talk you off the ledge, whatever it is, or hey, I'm just battling this today, hey, I'm really angry today and I'm struggling with this, whatever it may be. And let me say, it's easier said than done. I'm guilty of not always reaching out knowing I should. But the thing is, like, you got to have that community where even after maybe you did mess up, or maybe you did go do this, or whatever it may be, that, hey, I can call them up and realize the importance of confession, and call them and be like, hey, man, I felt today, pray for me, I should have called, blah, 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 whatever it may be, right? Whatever the thing is. But having the people, the army, the community that you need to build, the people that understand your struggle, that aren't going to hold it against you, that are going to approach you with that grace that you need, and an understanding that you're not alone. And I think we all need that.
Yeah. So when you're navigating difficult seasons, if you have that army behind you, it's great to have those people there.
Huge.
So if someone is waiting for God to remove the obstacle before they obey, what would you say to them?
Man, you got to step into it. It's kind of the Jordan River thing, the Red Sea, whatever. You got to step into it. And think. I learned, and I think this is true, is like God wants to see like discipline in action, obedience, like to surrender. I think that all kind of ties into that discipline thing to some extent. But like stepping out, God, it says all over the Bible, God doesn't like laziness, right? He wants us to take an action, have courage, trust. That's where your faith comes into play, where you can take that step, right? And it's like CR, taking that step and realizing, this ain't so bad. Actually, I need this. There's people here that I can relate with, or I can connect with. And that sense of vulnerability and opening up, it's hard at first in our head, but once you step into it, you realize the freedom that comes out of it. And I think that's just, you got to just take a step of faith and trust God and let Him work it out in you, right? You don't clean yourself up before you get in the shower, right? You go to Him and let Him work the stuff out. And it's hard because, again, that pride gets in the way. These things, these old habits, whatever it may be, or the things you're struggling with that you don't want to let go of, but it's only weighing you down, and it's only hurting you. And the thing is, we're not meant to carry that, and we got to find a way to let it go. So step out and understand you're not alone. You're not alone. There's many people in here who are probably going through a similar thing than you are, and you find that out when you step out.
Yeah, you're not meant to do life alone.
Amen.
That's good. That's what I'm hearing. Well, man, thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Yeah.
It was great. I hope you were impacted by that. Let's give him a round of applause. Well, I'm going to invite the band to come back up and to close us in worship. And last week, Chris asked us a simple yet powerful question. What's my Jordan River? In other words, where is God inviting you to trust him right now? And so we're going to sing a song, and part of the song says, I'll build a monument of all your faithfulness, so I will not forget that you are God and you are good. So let my story be that you have walked with me, and let my children see you are God and you are good. And so as we sing, I want you to reflect on that question. What's my Jordan River? Maybe it's addiction. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's a recent diagnosis. Maybe it's an upcoming procedure. Maybe it's fear, uncertainty. But whatever it is, why don't you just give it to God? Ask him to lead you into places where you have no trust. And if you do, he will. But it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. He may call you to forgive. He may call you to confess. He may call you to just let it go or ask you to take the step that you've been resisting for a long time. So if you would you stand and let's worship together.
I'll build a monument of all your faithfulness, so I will not forget you are God and you are good. I'll keep on stacking stones, mark every miracle. I will remind myself you are God and you are good. I have passed through troubled waters by your strength, your mighty hand, and I have seen your many wonders, and I'll see you move again. Should armies rise against these stones are my defense, be my remembrance. You are God and you are good. I have passed through troubled waters by your strength, your mighty hand, and I have seen your many wonders, and I'll see you move again. I have passed, and I have passed through troubled waters by your strength, your mighty hand, and I have seen your many wonders, and I'll see you move again. I will see you move again. Oh, 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 you are God and you are good. Oh, 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 you are God and you are good. I'm stacking stones. Whoa. You are God and you are good, and I have passed through troubled waters by your strength, your mighty hand, see, yes, I'll see you move again. So let my story be that you have walked with me, and let my children see you are God and you are good.
So in Joshua chapter 4, after God miraculously led Israel across the Jordan, he gave Joshua an interesting instruction. He said, "Now choose 12 men, one from each tribe. Tell them, take 12 stones from the very place where the priests are standing in the middle of the Jordan. Carry them out and pile them up where you'll sleep tonight." Why did God say that? Well, because we're all humans. We forget. We forget these moments that we've gone through and what God has done in our lives. So Joshua called together 12 men. He chose one from each of the tribes of Israel. He told them, "Go into the middle of the Jordan in front of the ark of the Lord your God. Each of you must pick one stone and carry it on your shoulders. 12 stones in all, one for each of the 12 tribes of Israel. We will use these stones to build a memorial. In the future, your children will ask, 'What do these stones mean?' Then you can tell them, 'They remind us of the Jordan River stopped flowing when the ark of the Lord's covenant went across. These stones will stand as a memorial among the people forever.'" He told them to build a memorial, a reminder, something that when future generations ask, "Hey, what do these stones mean?" you can look back and say, "Well, let me tell you what God did." And so today, as you leave in the lobby, we have some stones. And I would encourage you, write whatever your obstacle is on it. Whatever you're going through right now, write it on that rock and put it somewhere where you'll see it. Not as a reminder of that obstacle, but that when you get on the other side of it to your unforgettable, you can be reminded, hey, look at what God did in my life. So it was so good being here this morning. I hope you were touched by Alex's story. And once again, Alex, thank you so much for sharing. We really appreciate it. But at this time, I want to invite the prayer team down. And if you need prayer for anything, if you need to go and confess something to them, these people will be up here ready to receive you. But let's pray. Lord, thank you so much for today. Thank you for this week, God. And I pray for every individual in this room, Lord. I don't know what this week will face for them, but I know that you are God and you are good. And I just pray for safety for those traveling, those returning to work, God. Would you be with each and every one of us? We thank you so much. We honor you. We love you, Lord. Amen. You're dismissed.